Welcome to Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose podcast. Our podcast showcases inspiring appraisers and professionals from the industry who are leaders in their field. How did they get to where they are? What have they learned along the way? What can we learn from them? Your host is real estate investor, entrepreneur, and appraiser, Michael Hobbs.
Welcome to another exciting, engaging, and informative episode of Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Michael Hobbs, and as you can see, we have a distinguished alumni with us for this episode. But before we get into that, just want to say thanks again. Always appreciate the feedback, appreciate the support, appreciate some of the great suggestions that have come along for future guests. But in the meantime, in addition to that, there's only one thing you can do that really has the biggest impact, and that is continue to share the love. Thanks for hitting the subscribe button, because surprisingly, a lot of you have somehow missed that simple little action because you love this so much. You probably just get caught up and you forget to hit subscribe. And then, of course, when you like that episode, that just does that signaling to the network. So more people like Alex, who I was talking with earlier days, Michael, I just literally stumbled across this. And man, I've known you for a long time. I didn't even know this podcast was there. So thank goodness the network brought it to me. And whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or YouTube, wherever you're catching this on, more power to us all. So thank you for doing that. And Alex, we appreciate you reminding us the power of sharing. And Clarence, I'm so glad you're joining us. So thanks for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me. Enjoying being here.
Man, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. Hey, Clarence, inquiring minds want to know, were you born this way, or how'd you get into the appraisal and valuation profession?
A little bit. I guess my grandfather was a developer. My other grandfather was in rental property. I had a dad that was in the plumbing supply and HVAC business, an uncle that was an electrician person. And so I grew up around real estate.
That's amazing.
And after college, I thought I was smarter than everybody else, but didn't really work out very well. And I was looking for a job, and there was an appraiser in Lexington, Kentucky who said, hey, we'll take you on, and it's commission only. And I knew a little bit about commercial real estate.
Okay.
And here we are, 32 years later.
How did one of the grandparents not get you roped into helping run some of those businesses?
Well, the supply stuff had gone away, but he definitely paid for my college and had me come back to Somerset to work for him, and I lasted a year. And then I left.
What type of
he said, don't let the door hit you on the way out. And,
yeah, I get it. So what type of development was one of the grandfathers doing, and what type of rental properties was the other one doing?
So one had developed, which we would probably call a lifestyle center now, in downtown Somerset in the 70s. So we had offices, some retail, and some apartments.
Yep.
Mostly medical. And then my other grandfather was really just into kind of low-income housing, small rent houses. He was a disabled veteran, and that was his hobby and something to do and make some money. So my weekends were spent working on rent houses and then going fishing as payment, which was nice.
That sounds like a good way to go for a single guy.
When you're 8, 10, 12 years old, it was fantastic.
Yeah. Again, you get to spend some quality family time along the way. I assume that's actually a elder that you enjoyed spending time with.
Absolutely, my namesake.
Yeah, it is no fun to go fishing with people that you don't like.
You get stuck on a boat.
Oh man, it's tough. That's just throw me overboard and drag me with the rope behind or something. Wow, that is something else. By the time you got to like high school, could you have built your own little rent house or what?
I actually went to high school in a different city, so I was doing different things, but not that accomplished.
Not that accomplished. We think highly of you for what it's worth.
Well, thank you.
That's good. You threw out there Somerset. I'm going to guess that probably 95% of our listeners have no idea where Somerset is. You want to tell them what great state you're a part of?
Oh, I've been in Kentucky, so Somerset, Kentucky, which is Lake Cumberland, which is a large man-made lake.
Yep. Yeah, beautiful place. A lot of great boating.
Yes.
A lot of great boating, a lot of good fishing and stuff down there. A lot of good lake houses. It's their away place for the weekends and summertime for that matter.
Houseboat capital of the world.
Serious? I did not know that.
There's a lot of houseboat manufacturing there, yes.
Houseboat manufacturing. You know what? I will I don't know, probably sometime this year, I'll see Fred. That's my brother's wife's dad, and I believe he does have a houseboat, but and he's
There
in the
you go.
manufacturing space. I will have to ask him about this. Clarence, that is fascinating statistic. That is something else. Oh my goodness. But that, so you lasted not a full year, and it was don't let the door hit you on the way out. So what did you learn that you either didn't want to do or you were not good at?
I just learned I needed a larger town, more people to be around. So I moved to Lexington and thought I would kind of go even bigger than that, but it was a
Hmm.
recession and nobody was hiring, and here I am.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Still, so you're still in the bluegrass state.
Haven't left. Yes.
Haven't
Started
left.
buying some property and renting to
Oh wow.
college kids around UK
Oh my goodness.
and doing my appraisals and
Oh my goodness. That is something else. So you get this opportunity after the door hits you on the way out to end up in a commission only real estate appraisal position. So what was that like when you first got there?
I was actually working a restaurant job just to pay the bills and living
Oh,
with
what?
four other guys and
Yeah. That's probably where you're making your money and getting numbers written on pieces of paper back in the day.
just a little bit. Yeah, licensure was brand new and it was very interesting.
Love that.
Learned a lot though. There were some fun
Yeah.
guys to be around and definitely learned a lot and expanded my horizons.
So what type of firm did you join when you first got exposed to the profession?
So they did commercial real estate and
Hmm.
there was four or five guys and we shared office space with some residential people. So there was every opportunity in the world there. There was probably Lexington's being small. There was really about three sets of commercial people. So
Okay.
you kind of that was the division of the pie was by three.
Oh, all right. I got it. I got it. And so that first exposure that you had, were they more of a generalist firm or a specialist, or what was it like?
Just generalist, small enough market that you have to do pretty much every kind of commercial type properties and farms.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. And then what uh, what were your responsibilities when you first joined?
I hold the dumb end of the tape.
Oh, thank goodness, man. I remember. Oh man, that is such an important role back in the day when tape measures were the only way to actually do measurement.
That's right. I actually knew how to work a computer probably better than them, so that was
Oh,
part of it. Was I was our tech analyst, if you want to call it that.
all right.
This was the days of WordPerfect and DOS and
Yeah, I hear you,
floppy
man.
drives.
That is totally making sense. We're talking like late 80s, early 90s kind of stuff.
Absolutely, early 90s,
Yeah.
35 millimeter cameras, double-sided tape.
Oh my goodness. That amazing technology of those days. I
It was a lot of fun.
can imagine. I can
So yeah,
imagine.
I definitely got exposed to a lot of different property types.
Hmm.
And those guys actually subcontracted to a firm out of Dallas, Texas that would do large manufacturing portfolios. So every now and again, we would get some
Oh wow.
weird, they would get a package of manufacturing deals. So we might travel a little bit. So I got to do that a couple times.
Hmm. Huh.
I actually
Fascinating.
got to go to Canada one time, which was nice. So I have an appraisal that was in American
Wow.
dollars and Canadian dollars.
All right. That's some cool stuff. Uh, You're definitely the first person that's done valuation in US and Canada. That's
All right.
that is a distinguished feature and result, my friend. That is indeed the case. So what was it like working in that environment with them when you first got started?
That was a lot of fun. It was those, I mean, those guys were, I don't know, they were about probably 10 years older than me and
Mhm.
definitely had experience and were growing their lives and businesses. So it was a lot of fun and
Yeah.
getting to see all the different property types was, it was a great education.
And then did the firm kind of stay the same size the whole time you were there? Did it shrink a bit? Did it grow a bit? Like you
Kind
mentioned,
of
being
shrank
around.
a bit. There was a couple people went and did some different things and then I just decided to go out and do my own deal. and
All right.
hang my own shingle, as people like to say.
All right. How long were you with them before you started shingle hanging?
I think I was 8 or 9 years.
Okay. Got it. And what was it that after almost a decade brought you to the point to decide to go your own way?
I guess I just wanted to do my own thing and not have to manage people or share the overhead. And I was definitely interested in having my investment sides as well.
Oh,
So I bought some houses around UK and had fixed them up and was trying to,
mhm.
so I was running two different businesses.
Oh, okay. So here you were doing appraisal by day and investor by night kind of thing?
Investor by night, painting houses,
Painting houses.
rewiring,
Yeah.
doing stuff
Oh,
like that.
so what was your first acquisition that you made?
I bought a house 2 blocks from the university, and then I wound
Wow.
up buying the next door neighbor's house,
Ooh,
and
that's impressive.
we added on to the back of them in that area. It was zoned for duplexes, so you could build another house in the backyard, and as long as it connected. And some people called them student barracks, but if I had been smart enough, all the little old ladies on that street offered me their properties, and I didn't really understand the financing, but I could
Oh
have owned the
gosh.
entire street probably. Hindsight's 2020, but when you're whatever 25 years old, 27 years old, it's you don't really see things that well.
Oh my gosh. I'm still sitting with student barracks. I'm like, that is so good. So here you are, like walking distance from the University of Kentucky. And for those that don't know, how big a school is UK?
Right now it's over 30,000 students, but probably at that time it was closer to 20.
Yeah, it's a huge, it's not like there's 2,000 people or something. So it's massive. You get this
Yes.
opportunity to acquire a property within walking distance of the university. And what was it like? Like, how did that first opportunity come together?
I was renting a house there with some other guys nearby, and so finally saw something for sale and then
Yeah.
purchased that, lived there for, I don't know, maybe a couple years, and of course got to know my neighbors. So my one neighbor, they were older and offered me to buy their property as well.
Oh,
So I
wow.
bought it and
Yep.
moved over there. Part of one of the tricks of turning over those houses is you would turn the living room or the dining room into a bedroom. So
Yep.
it's all about how many bedrooms you have.
Yep. Yep. Wow. So going back to those days, so you get this opportunity to buy a property, and tell us, was it shotgun ranch? Was it a little split level? What was it?
The first one I got was a 3 bedroom bungalow, and then the second one was a story and a half. And actually, I did at this similar time I had bought a shotgun house that I think is a Sears and Roebuck house,
Oh,
and
wow.
it had 3 different additions on it, so it made it, but it still had the center hallway.
Yeah.
It's a little bit awkward, but we completely
Sure.
gutted that. My stepdad and I completely gutted that house, rewired everything, new HVAC. So that was my weekend job for about a year.
Oh man, that is something else. So when you got that first home, were you able to move into it, or was
I moved
it?
into it. Yes, absolutely. Moved into it
Okay. Okay.
and lived there. And
Yep.
it probably took me 2 years before that neighborhood started turning over where the
I see.
additions were happening. The
Yep.
investors were coming along, and I guess the student population was growing at UK. They were not building any more dorms.
Hmm. Wow. So tell me about it. So you move into this house, you work on it while you're living there, and then after about 2 years, you decide to go to another place, but you keep this first property. What kind of rent did you first get?
Don't even really remember, but it was not much. Probably like
Like,
$800.
I was gonna say you're getting a couple $100 a bedroom, probably,
We
maybe three
were
hundred
in
bucks
the
a bedroom or something.
300 something a bedroom. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, that totally makes some sense. Holy smokes. That's good stuff. And then you end up getting the opportunity to buy what? The next door neighbor house? Is that how it went?
So I bought the next door neighbor house. Then we added on to the back of both of those. And I guess at that time I got married and moved out of the student neighborhood and more to a grown-up neighborhood.
You mean your significant other said, "I don't wish to live the frat
She
house
did not want
life"?
to live there. No, she did not. So we bought an adult house and moved.
I bought an adult house. That is, you just don't even understand how familiar this story is to my wife. This is about you, not about me, so I appreciate that. So you actually move out of the neighborhood. At this
Yes.
point, you've got your residence with your significant other, and you've got two rental houses.
I guess at that point we had bought another two other houses, and then with the additions, we had one, two, three, four, five, six. We had seven, seven properties with an average of 4 bedrooms each.
Wow, congratulations. Man, that's good stuff. So at that point, did you just retire?
No, not even close. I think the bank owned pretty much all of that. I was just doing the sweat equity.
Yeah, that sounds all too familiar for those that have not yet owned some rental property. Is the bank does own the property? We're on the deed, but Mr. and Mrs. Bank, they are our silent partner.
So I think we were talking earlier about the party risk of those properties and
Yep,
holes
yep,
getting punched in the walls and trashed and all kinds of fun stuff, and parents co-signing on loans, or not
yep.
loans, co-signing on
On
leases,
on
and
lease and stuff, yeah. Oh man,
roommates
that's so
that get into disagreements or fail out of school. And there's definitely a lot of management to that stuff.
wow. But the flip side of it is you get above market rents too that compensate for those kind of things.
That's right, I did.
And you get the guarantor, which is more valuable than the tenant.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And some of those kids showed up in Mercedes and Range Rovers. They were in nice cars.
Jeez. Car might cost more than the house.
That's right.
Wow, that is something else. So, what was it like being a little real estate mogul, having your portfolio of more than a handful of houses?
Oh, it was fun. I really enjoyed that part. Got to meet a lot of people, and it definitely kept me busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. And were you the we'll refer to it as the portfolio. Were you the portfolio's handyman, or did your wife force you to to delegate?
I wound up getting forced to delegate between trying to do appraisals and having children. That was it got to be too much to handle, and I found some handymen and definitely had some mentors who beat opportunity cost into my head. They were like, "Why are you doing painting when you could be writing an appraisal or doing something where you're much more valuable for your time?"
I don't know.
So
I got to ask you the question. I have very strong feelings on this that run counter to most. So the idea that you could go do other things that would pay you more, was that actually true, or is that just somebody's bias?
it was true, but I also said to them a couple times that it was cheaper than therapy for me to go over there and paint the walls or kind of get some time to clear my head.
Oh,
But it was definitely more valuable to appraise. So I call my appraisal side the that's how I eat. And then I was able to just keep growing on the investment side. So
yep,
that's hopefully my retirement unless I screw it up.
yeah.
The
I totally
banks
agree. Totally agree with you on that. On those first, what do you say, seven or so houses? What would you say was the total amount of, in this case, anchor capital or earnest money that you had to get started with? Were you able to do them all no money down, or did you have to put a little
so
money in here and there, or would you just leverage one into the next, or what have you?
so the first one I probably did like a typical first time home buyer, 5% down.
Okay.
And the second one the same thing. And then I was able to finance the additions for no money down. Like they
Okay.
would, between me being a general contractor and the appraised value, I would get the 80% loan to value. So
Sure.
we were
Sure.
able to leverage that to just putting in the time. Actually, the renovated house though, yeah, I did a construction loan on that. So it was, yeah, zero down, but 100% of my labor was free.
Oh yeah.
So by the
Welcome
time
to the community.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and that was a solid 6 to 9 month project of every
Mhm.
weekend.
Yep.
But I guess technically no money down into that one.
Mhm. Yeah.
Then I had two others that I think traditionally I probably put 20% down at that point. I had grown enough to where I had a little jingle in my pocket. But of course, at that point, by the time you dealt with vacancy and stuff, I was
Oh yeah.
probably just, I really wasn't, I was cash flowing, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like I was making a lot of money.
Yeah. No, I
And then
get it.
eventually I started looking good on paper.
Not that's the way it goes. It's the snowball effect. That famous book by a similar title about the life and times of Warren Buffett. It's the golden rule of compounding. Is don't
Gold around the
stop.
cup. Yes, well, absolutely.
Don't stop. But but no, that's phenomenal. And I think that's one of the beautiful things that from the outside perspective, when you look at, I don't know, pick the house, we go back that number of years. I'm imagining maybe the house cost somewhere between 50 and 100 grand.
I think my first house I paid 78,000 for, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, just getting a ballpark of time and location and stuff. And you look at that and say, if you can buy a $78,000 asset and you bought it for 5% down, so let's just roll the numbers up. So it's 4K. And then you do the work, you were living there, did the work while you're in it. And then you get a chance to just time. Time is generally a favorable thing. So it goes up a little bit each year. Plus, you did some improvements, which reset the life cycle and also increase the appeal, aka more rent. And then you get to move out, and you're like, okay, look what I got. I got a cash flowing asset, and I got 4 grand into it. Your
Right.
ROI on that is massive because everybody has the same amount of time in a week, which is 168 hours, over 700 hours in the month. And you get to choose, like you said, you're going to go to work. How much time are you going to put on your paycheck? How much time are you going to take investing in your maybe mental and physical well-being? And how much of that you're going to invest in building your wealth? And whether you were intending on building wealth or, as I heard you say, you just needed a cheaper alternative than therapy.
That's right.
Something to go do with your some of that spare time.
And I will say the flexibility of being the appraiser, not being a
Yeah.
W-2 employee, was very helpful. And of course, it exposed me to a lot of different properties and people around town, so that I got to learn from.
Yeah. That sounds all too familiar. All too familiar to my first couple ones as well. And then, like you said, these bigger opportunities coming along to accumulate properties in close proximity and then expand the asset because there was some capabilities there in terms of the existing house and the zoning and your allowable square footages. And then on top of that, you happen to benefit because of the both popularity of the university plus its growth and some things you couldn't control, such as constraints on the supply of new housing. What a wonderful mixture to be a part of.
If you're asking about that, I'll give you a fun story. There was a appraisal client of mine. He was a larger developer in the area. His name was C.V. Ethington. And he
Okay.
calls me up one day and he goes, if I got this apartment building next door over there next to you and you're going to come by it, and here's what you're going to pay for it, and here's how you're going to do it. And kind of hangs up the phone. And I went, oh, crap. Like, I got to buy this thing, I think. This is a great opportunity. So I don't really have much money in the bank. I call up the
Sure.
bank that I'm dealing with, and
Yep.
we worked out a deal to where I'll give you the numbers. So he wanted 600,000 for it,
How many units?
and it was 11 units.
Okay. Okay.
And
So
I
that's
was
all right.
able to, I think, come up with $10,000. The bank was going to do I think a 90% loan or something, and I went and got $30,000 in 0% interest credit cards and used that for most of my down payment. And I got convinced the bank that was okay.
I love
And
it.
they were like, "What if you fail on this?" And I said, "The credit cards get nothing. You get the
Yep.
asset, and we'll go from there. But
Oh my gosh.
you guys have leverage on my other properties,
Yeah.
and they technically didn't take them as collateral, but."
Oh, okay.
So I literally bought probably at that time, definitely my largest asset on a credit card.
I love you, man. That is beautiful.
And so I
Okay.
had 18 months to pay off the credit cards at 0%. So I Went in, redid some kitchens,
Yep.
hustled, put a lot of sweat equity in it, got the rents up, and sure enough, was able to pull that off.
Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that. So when you took it over, to the best of your recollection, 600,000, 11 units, what kind of rents were you getting? And then 2 years later, what had the rents gone up to?
I think I had 3 or 4 vacancies. I think some people were paying like $500-$600 a month, and I was
Okay.
able to get them up to 800 by the
Oh,
time I fixed everything up.
wow. That's massive. Oh my goodness.
But a new roof, new kitchens, I spent a lot of money along the
Oh
way.
yeah. No, I totally get it.
I definitely had to feed that baby.
Oh my gosh. You're sitting there, you go from approximately 500 a unit to 800 a unit. You got 11 units. You're taking that up to 100,000 a year in income. That's a beautiful gross income. And what were they? A 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom?
2-bedroom, 1 bath, yes.
Yeah. Nice stuff. Little less of the fraternity environment than probably those.
Absolutely.
And I assume a lot lower turnover. At least that's my experience in the larger 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom space.
If you get 2 years out of students, you're doing great.
Okay. That's never did the university stuff, but done a lot of infill density.
And for your listeners who might want to check out the University of Kentucky, one of my streets is where they burn the couches after they win a big game.
More importantly, do you have any videos?
I'm sure there's plenty on Instagram and
All right.
Twitter and I don't know, Snapchat, whatever the cool things are now.
TikTok or something, yeah. So one of your homework assignments before, because we have a small gap between when we record and when we release, is you got to send us a couple links, and we'll enhance our video podcast here with a couple couch burning. Look, that one's mine in the background. It's right beyond that.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. So I'm fascinated that I was going to use the word grumpy. I don't know necessarily that your neighbor was grumpy. Might have just been a little crotchety. I'm surprised he didn't offer you some seller financing.
You know, that never came up.
Okay.
I wish I'd been smarter and
Yeah.
learned how to, because there was another guy who was actually a banker who bought up quite a bit of the street around me. So,
Okay.
and he's done really well.
So basically, he actually said yes to the old ladies who
He
had.
said yes to the old ladies.
He said, "Hey, I think I'm tired of having all these frat parties around me. It's time for me to move to a more respectable neighborhood like Clarence and his wife." I got to tell you, man, thanks for sharing that story. I think that's really encouraging. It just goes to show that a lot of times the constraint I have seen myself have experienced, and I've heard from so many people, is that like I don't have the resources to actually make a transaction happen. And what I hear in your story is, yes, there was a constraint on the resources, but more importantly, you unleashed resourcefulness. And in the resourcefulness, you brought a transaction across the finish line that otherwise would have just died in the conversation. Yeah. What a world of
Absolutely.
difference. Man, that's amazing. That's amazing. And then I'm just curious, as it is with so many people that are in this kind of space that you've been in and you're in, and I have been in and have loved extensively. So you buy this property, the bank gives you very favorable financing because you had an existing relationship, plus you had additional collateral with them. So they had a sense of knowing you as a quality, incredible buyer, and in this case, party that repays their loans. A year or two in, when it came time for the credit card, did you just do a cash out refi and restock things, or what happened?
80% of all businesses fail within 5 years, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. With so many roles and responsibilities that must be managed and have nothing to do with appraisal reports, is it any surprise that it's hard to keep up, much less having a sense of peace, stability, and profitability that comes from growing your business? Given all of this, you might already be thinking about exiting your business one day. Don't miss the limited opportunity to work with Michael, a real estate expert and professional coach. He has worked with more than 300 owners and entrepreneurs to find their highest and best use by solving problems that reach their most important goals. Compress decades of learning into days by working with Michael. Michael is famous in real estate and business coaching. With his help, you can accelerate your growth, increase your quality of life, and earn more money, all while ultimately doing less. Michael helps you not just grow your business, but also find new purpose in it and in your life. If you're ready to take control instead of being controlled, contact him on LinkedIn or email him at michaelh@paru.com.
I literally just paid that off and got them down to an existing loan that was in the 70% loan to value ratio or something like that, and everybody was very comfortable at that point.
Holy cow. That is absolutely beautiful. You didn't even have to do a cash out refi. You just took the straight cash flow and paid it off. Good for you, buddy.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Those are the type of stories that give people some possibility, because maybe that's something they just didn't even know was available. And now, thanks to Clarence and the University of Kentucky, you too could go watch your tenants burn couches out in the street. Make things happen. Oh my goodness. So here you are buying up residential properties, but you're a commercial appraiser this whole time still, and continue to be, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Yeah, got it. So you got your rental portfolio, and then you decided to go out on your own. Was it just you, or did you grab a couple people and it became a little powwow? How was it?
It was just me.
All right. And was it a little quiet in there, or how was it going on?
It was very quiet in there. Actually, I guess before executive offices were a thing, I rented one room out of an attorney's office. So she had converted over a house and had an assistant and her, and she did mediations, and I just had one room, but we shared the conference room. And back in the day, we shared the fax machine. So for those of you that know who that is.
Love it.
And then I started working out of my house to keep the overhead down.
No, I love that kind of thing. So you were virtual or / remote before people even picked up on that stuff, huh?
Absolutely.
True. We're going to have to come to you for an industry trendsetter. That is good stuff. And did you continue to pretty much focus in the same geographic area in property types, if you will? Or when you went out on your own, did you shift or niche down?
Definitely stayed in Central Kentucky. That's been always my primary appraisal business. And then at that point, all my investments were in Central Kentucky. I guess my grandfather passed away, so I had to deal with a couple of buildings in Somerset. One of them that I still own with my dad and my uncle.
Okay.
That's a commercial building. Yeah. The funny thing is after I had done all that, I wound up having to manage that property, which is family and real estate, and I don't really get paid for that. It's one of those things that we could do a whole episode on trust and family dynamics, which can be interesting.
Yep. You and I can commiserate for a long period of time and have to be some awful tall beverages to get to the bottom of it. It's fascinating when you bring those different intersecting expectations and experiences together.
Yes.
Oh, that's something else. So did you ever cross over and bring your commercial appraisal experience into your investing, or did you just continue your investing primarily in residential type properties, or residential? Multifamily obviously is a commercial nature of it, but it's still habitational as opposed to, say, business tenants when you get over into a lot more of the commercial and industrial kind of stuff.
So I kept doing that for a while. I had kids, and then was doing the kid thing with sports and traveling soccer and different things. So I probably didn't expand for a while. I did a couple of suburban houses, which apparently I did not understand suburban people compared to students. And COVID happened, and I wound up getting two families that I think the guy got hooked on drugs, trashed the house. Because of COVID restrictions, I couldn't evict them.
Oh.
And that kind of wound up, but because of the appreciation in the market, I was able to fix up those houses and sell them. And then I have flipped over into doing what I would probably call BC small retail stuff in Lexington. So I have that's been my focus now.
Got it. For those that don't understand the BC reference, you want to share a little bit more about that?
Less than 10,000 square feet, older neighborhoods, hopefully that are doing some revitalization, but definitely local mom and pop type tenants, nothing credit,
Yeah.
small stuff, nothing glamorous at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, BC quality, not Class A stuff.
Yep. That's
They've
good news
definitely
is always
got some.
businesses that need to be in those spaces.
There are
Yeah.
their buildings have some warts on them, but you can kind of work through them.
Yep. I can totally get that. So do you typically buy those with in-place tenants, or do you focus when you have that opportunity, you focus on picking them up near the end of a lease term so you can reposition the property?
Everything I've bought there has had some sort of value add to it. Had
Okay.
some vacancy or a tenant in place with a below market rent. That's it is. I won't say they can be difficult. So you've got to spend the time and the sweat equity and probably carry some opportunity cost in getting them out or getting the new either getting a renewal term or getting a new tenant, which between vacancy and renovation, at least with the commercial stuff, I don't know, you get a longer term of 3 to 5 years compared to my students, which you're getting 1 to 2 years out of. And of course, when you have a 5 bedroom house, you really have five tenants instead of one tenant.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you, I'm curious, I've not owned any university housing. I've rented to a lot of university graduates, but there's one market we do valuation work in, and I see a lot of the landlords there literally sign leases per bedroom as opposed to what would be a traditional residential lease with 5 signers on it, in that case 5 co-signers. What approach did you take?
In the neighborhoods I was in, technically, if you did the individual leases, that would call you a boarding house, which would make you non-compliance with zoning. So
Well, don't get yourself in trouble.
I have one lease with 5 people on it, but
Yep.
from a practical standpoint, you collect 5 different checks from your tenants. And it's funny, sometimes I say checks, now we're doing some payments, but I had a lot of tenants who the August check would be check 101, the September check would be 102, check number. So that's the only check they're writing is to their landlord because they're doing everything else by other payment methods.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I love that 101. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What there are, as you said, there are upsides and downsides to getting paid a lot more money for residential rentals, especially in the university space and dealing with fraternities. I don't necessarily recommend that people jump in that end of the pool unless you've maybe lived in that space first and you know what you're getting into, and then you'll have the thick skin for it. But so, what's it been like over the years with some of those lovely university students as tenants?
It's a lot of fun. I've got some great stories, but
Yeah, share a couple.
you've got to be very resilient
Yeah.
between parents who think their children are perfect and fraternities that want to trash houses or one of our funniest ones recently was we had a group of girls and they called us in, let's just say October, and they're like, we can't understand why our rooms won't get warm. And because the weather had changed. And so we went over and they had not switched the thermostat to heat and they still had their window units and their air conditioners in their rooms on, even with the heat going. So it's amazing some of the life skills you teach these college kids.
That reminds me of a story. It's been a number of years. And I get this frantic call. It was a Saturday afternoon. And I do believe there were cell phones at that point. But it was early on. There wasn't text messaging per se. Frantic phone call. And there's no power. And this happens to be a townhouse. I had lived in the one next door. Similar story to you. It was the first place I had. And then I had an opportunity. The neighbor said, hey, they explained the story, need to sell. And I was like, okay, I'll buy your place. And so I had been involved in the rehab of that one as well. And I'm like, this just doesn't make any sense. And yeah, it turned out. So fortunately, I lived in vicinity of it, and I was able to stop by. And this young lady is just has this look of total fear and panic because I can't remember what big event was going on that night, but there's no power. She couldn't get ready. She wouldn't look presentable. And I was like, I'm like, I'm trying to have a little bit of sensitivity here. I was like, what happened? And I get there, and she had a super powerful hair dryer.
Oh, yes.
And tripped the breaker. And she had no idea that there was something called a circuit breaker, which is actually there for your own safety. You don't overload the electrical system and burn the place down, which is fascinating. I was like, so I went down and I showed, I'm like, hey, walk with me. And I'm like, let me, the lower level, you have this big family room over here, and you have that, your girlfriend's bedroom's down here, and this is like her private bathroom down here. But there's like here next to the laundry, there's this little box on the wall. She's like, yeah, I've never seen that. I'm like, have you done laundry? She goes, yeah, I do laundry. I said, well, there's this little box on the wall, and when you open the little panel, it's like got these little black pieces in there, and like there's this little kind of table, and it has names next to it. See your name, not your name, but like your bedroom number. She's like, I'm like, here, and I'm like, here, touch the breaker. She's like, is it okay? I'm like, no, it's okay. You can touch the breaker. I'm like, notice that one's a little springy. The others are firm. She's like, yeah. I'm like, just push it over and then push it back. And she's like, oh my gosh, are we okay? What was that comment on? That little click sound is that you now have power back in your bedroom, in the bathroom. She's like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Like the next day she calls. She's like, thank you so much. You totally saved the day. I'm like, no, I just taught you what apparently your parents never taught you.
Absolutely.
I'm like, oh my gosh, this is sad state of young adults. Oh my gosh, so you've had that experience. Now, how do you deal with the, because it's all about a lot of times resourcefulness and not resources. Many people are old enough to remember the wonderful movie of either Animal House or Revenge of the Nerds, and that whole college campus experience and how rough they are on the properties. What kind of things have you done over the years to make your properties more resilient to the tenants?
I do have a party house that we've replaced all the drywall in the living areas with plywood, so they can't punch holes in the walls anymore.
No, here more importantly, 1/2 inch or 3/4.
I think it's just half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You got to be economical, but.
Oh my goodness. I love the thought of that. Walking into.
I've been in there, and there's exposed wires sticking out of the wall where they've punched holes in the walls, and I'm like, how in the world did you not get electrocuted or burn the place down?
That is absolutely wild. Oh, plywood walls.
Yeah, that's a fun house. I've seen probably 400 people at that place at one time. It has a huge backyard, and they throw some killer parties.
Holy smokes. Hopefully they charge a door fee and send you a percentage.
It would be nice, absolutely. But I don't get any of that.
Oh, my goodness. And are you still taking the opportunity to selectively pick up residential properties or campus properties, or have you moved beyond that?
The campus thing got so competitive after a while that other people were catching on. So I guess I would love to sell out, but I'm hoping the university might come and condemn our properties. They have the neighborhood to build a new cancer center. So
it's a matter of time.
But it's very expensive to be down there if you wanted to buy in, if the opportunity is even available. And I have, during the last low cycle, I think I have 2.75, 2.9% financing on those. And so it's difficult for me to get out of that.
Yeah. I mean,
but I'm not buying anything else. I'm residentialed out, as a lot of people would tell me that I would get residentialed out. And luckily my son has come along and is helping me with management projects now. And he's in his early 20s, and he understands those people way better than I do now.
Oh, hey, thank goodness, man. It's keep that young person in the game, keep them close to some of their peers.
Absolutely. He enjoys doing it, and I'm very grateful to have someone come along. And so now we're looking at 4th generation of our
I love that.
business.
Oh man, that's phenomenal. Fourth generation.
Absolutely.
Wow, that is impressive. Wow. That is really now, is he more inclined towards investing or property management or appraisal or brokerage?
He is not brokerage. He's not interested in selling, and neither really was I. But
Okay.
he's learning the appraisal business as well. He can do some good appraisals for pretty basic things, and he handles the management stuff. But he is definitely interested in investing on his own and growing, and hopefully this portfolio can be handed down to him. I
Love
guess
that.
I'm a believer of generational wealth,
Yeah.
and with the resources of appraising, it's so fascinating to me. It's like you get to see. I think I calculated it up. I've probably done 6,000 properties, so you get to meet so many educated or people that are involved in the business who are willing to share their time and their resources with you, teach you how to value things, how they learn their return, what kind of businesses they're in. There's so much education from just meeting and talking to these people. And
Mhm.
then if you can apply that knowledge to your own investing, it's such a great way to accumulate some wealth. And
Yeah.
hopefully, like I said, it's my retirement. I don't know what a 401k is.
I I'm a huge fan, and I totally agree with you. The biggest experience that I have, and I remember I have investing in property before I had gotten married. I've definitely done it before I got engaged. Any of the engagements, for that matter. But like you, pretty young, but not too young, had a chance to start getting involved into investments. And people ask me like, "Hey man, what do you, are you saving a lot of money for your 401k?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm buying property." I was like, "Look, things can come and go, and yeah, you should diversify, but at the same time, I was like, look, in the right areas with the right kind of properties, based on the right kind of market dynamics, demographics, just make sure it's a good, stable area. Over time, property value is going to go up. Inflation is going to take it in that direction. Rents are going to go up. Your debt is not going to go up unless you drive it up. And I sleep at night while my tenants pay off my properties. And
Yeah,
my cost of ownership is either my time or paying someone else. And I totally relate to your comment that at a certain point, you turned over some or a number of the responsibilities to somebody else. As soon as I got to, I think for me, Clarence, it's about 8 properties. Can't remember how many units was that because the property count didn't really matter. Because Chicago, the north side of Chicago is high density, and I don't know, it was probably maybe somewhere south of 50 units. And at that point, I looked at the properties and I looked at the value of my time, and I was like, I was tired of just having to respond to whiny tenants, and I was like, okay, I can afford to have my properties pay, I think it was 3%. Take 3% right off the top as a property management fee to a little LLC I created called Management Company. And then I hired someone, worked, I don't know, about 30 or so hours a week, and I paid Pete, the maintenance guy,
nice.
who was on call. And suddenly it was enjoyable again because I didn't have to deal with the part that I just didn't enjoy as much 6, 7, 8 years into it. Just continued to grow. And I look back on the first property I bought. You mentioned, I think you said was what, $78,000.
Yes.
I think mine about the same time in Chicago, North Side neighborhood was like 195 or 197. And that little thing is it's worth like $700,000 these days. I mean,
Wow.
it's like you sit there, it's the get rich slow plan. And still continued to work the whole time. And I don't take that for granted. But to your point, go build. I love what you said. I learned appraisal. I do appraisal. That's how I pay the bills and take care of the family. And then I'm able to build wealth with this other activity as opposed to just going to the bar and do bowling every night. And there's nothing wrong with either of those things, but neither one of them are going to build wealth unless you're like the Big Lebowski. And that's probably not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got a friend here who slogged along as a chef, and finally has his own restaurant and gotten locally famous. And we kind of joke it only took me 30 years to become an overnight success.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is so true. That is so true. So at this point, this is early 2026. What's your outlook? You still favorable on investing? You're holding tight, or you thinking about pulling back? I know you mentioned with the university, possible expansion, eminent domain. That'll be a very nice payday, and you'll end up maybe taking the money or doing a 1031 exchange. But aside from that, just
Well, here,
overall,
something I learned from being down there. There's actually a 1032 exchange
I don't
with the with
apologize.
the
I have no idea what you're talking about. Could you please
so
inform me?
it's a small kind of it's small relative, but it is part of the IRS code. So a
Okay.
1032 is part of eminent domain if you have
Oh,
condemnation or the threat of condemnation. So instead of having the 45-day, 6-month 1031 constraints, you have 2 years and you can hold the money in your own account. You do not need an intermediary. If anybody winds up in that kind of situation, it's a
yeah.
great
That's a
it's a
great
great avenue
situation.
because you get to hold the money and your time constraints are very limited, or they're not that 45-day window of identifying a property. You've got 2 years to do what, and then I guess if you don't want to do it, you've got the tax ramification, and
Love
you would
that.
have to go backwards. But it's a it's a really nice
Yeah, that's great to
part of
hear.
the code.
Lovely. Thanks for sharing that. That is a real valuable insight. Now, granted, almost anybody on this listening community, within the sound of our voices here, probably will never be on the receiving end of having their property taken via eminent domain. We're all more likely to actually be part of the valuation action than we are to actually be on either side of it. But that there's a 1032 for those that are subjected to that. Yeah, I got it. Wow. What if that happened at the present time? Would you actively look to get ahead
Absolutely.
of investing right now because of the economic climate you're in, or would you kind of take a rider on this and wait a year or two since you have a bigger window to redeploy?
Well, I would definitely take my time to try to find the right property. I wouldn't feel the constraints. I did have one small house a long time ago that I was able to leverage into a 5-unit apartment building, which turned out great for me, but it took about a year to find that place.
Yeah.
And then I did have a 1031 recently, and I wound up buying something I wasn't thrilled about at the
Hmm.
last moment,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it saved the taxes. And
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have to work on that property for about 6 months, and it took me a year to find a tenant. So uh,
Oh,
the
God.
opportunity cost of that lost rent was more significant than I anticipated.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That is something else. That's something else. Given your experience at being both a property investor and a property appraiser, how's the how's your outlook for the your appraisal work as compared to your investing work?
As far as an industry or for me personally,
You personally, because not everybody gets to go to Somerset, Kentucky, and hang out and be involved in family investments. I mean,
I don't
that's
think I'll ever quit. I really do enjoy meeting the people and seeing different properties, and
hmm
so I definitely want to continue doing the appraisal side. I'd like to slow down probably a little bit,
yeah,
but it is fun. I think Central Kentucky it's a growing area, so there's a lot of opportunity here. We have pretty vibrant community and growing area, so I enjoy doing the appraisal side. I don't think I'll ever quit doing it.
yeah,
As we could all probably say, writing the reports can be a slog.
yeah.
I'm
No, I
hoping
get that.
AI might make that a little easier for us.
Yeah. No, depending on who you talk to, the answer is yes or hell yes. I don't know which one it is, but it's definitely going to have an impact. And actually, we were catching up with Alex just a little bit earlier, and he was sharing how there's a number of different resources out there, whether you're on social and following a couple people like Justin Gone or Roy Myers, or I think he was even sharing that like the Appraisal Institute has a AI on AI 6-part series right now. So there are a lot of different deeper dives into that. Which, look, like electricity. It's not about if you like it or not. It's here and it ain't going away. So probably a little better that you understand it versus trying to ignore it.
I think it'll help us go faster. Obviously,
Mhm.
confidentiality is an issue,
Yeah.
but as you and I have talked about, it's so nice to not have to go down to the deed room and visit the
Hmm.
PVA office, and the internet made things so much faster, and not having to print out reports and deliver
Yeah.
them and just click send with a PDF now. It's funny, my appraisal fees have barely changed since 1993.
I thought it was
Uh,
just me. You too?
but I can go about 3 times as fast, 4 times as fast. So
Yeah. I
I
love that.
guess between that and TVs, we're the things that inflation hasn't hit.
Mm. Oh, absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. That's cool stuff. So, as you look out over the next 3 to 5 years, what are you most excited about or opportunistically approaching?
I definitely want to just keep doing the appraisals. I've bought some properties along Winchester Road in Lexington, which is a bit of a revitalizing corridor.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to retenant some of those and help revitalize that corridor. So that's my focus.
Yeah. Oh, I can appreciate that. And for those that, like you know, talented and experienced appraisers, but maybe not like you who have not gotten as far along in the real estate investing, what were the characteristics that you looked at that I'll use the word bolstered your confidence in making an investment in an area of revitalization? Because sometimes it's easy to miss the cues when it's our decision to make around investing.
I think I've just been in the community long enough that I can I could see that area was changing. Lexington is constrained by what we call an urban service boundary. It's our city limits, and you can't build
Mm-hmm.
outside of that. So we've
Mm,
essentially run out of land there. So infill is very important, and this is
got
it's
it.
an infill corridor with significant traffic counts. So I feel like it's coming. But then you're buying properties that are 75 years old, and anytime you touch something's broken, and then the next thing breaks because
Oh
whatever
yeah.
it's connected to, that's going to break too because it's old. And uh, so the timing of some of the repairs and timing
Yeah.
of tenants and those things can be, you know, those unknowns are what makes it fun.
I love that, man. And I would agree with you. You mentioned a more qualitative analysis, but what were some of the things, either from visually or from a data standpoint, that you look to that affirm that sense of I could see it was coming?
Traffic patterns. We actually had a large regional shopping center outside of town that has transferred some shopping or some traffic patterns along this road, and the university's actually bought some land out this way that they
Okay.
plan on doing a large medical center. So this is a corridor that connects those to downtown. So you can just see traffic patterns changing, and then incomes, of course. People are starting to renovate houses in that area, and there's really no other places to build new retail. So this infill's becoming more popular. Hipster places to be. Not that I'm not hip anymore for sure.
I get it. Yep. In Chicago, one thing I learned was invest along the arterials, whether that was the primary streets where the buses were back in the day when I
Yes.
first moved to the city, or Chicago does have both an urban and suburban train system. Invest along the train stops. Don't invest right along the train because those things suffer significant noise impact, but be within close distance of it. And it was fascinating. We would have had the technology today back then. It was so easy to quickly identify the rent rings, and obviously the further away you got from in this case, an L stop, an elevated train stop, and not surprisingly, the lower the rents went. And to a certain degree and distance, the rents went up until they started to go down because they got closer to the train. And it was just a fascinating undertaking of, hey, like 2 blocks away is good, 5 blocks is too far, 1 block is too close. And that sense of paying attention to that. And then the second one was buy where the artists are. And
okay.
My experience, at least around so many of the Chicago neighborhoods, is that has continued to be. Now, sometimes you have to have a lot of patience, but over a longer period of time, I'm with you, Clarence. Those are some pretty good observable trends.
That follows along with this neighborhood that sees a lot of secondhand furniture, and so you're the artist. I get it. I like it.
Yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. Clarence, man, I appreciate you joining us. Always a pleasure to have peers on that are not just providing reports, but also pursuing investment and redeveloping areas, as well as in hopefully improving the property stock and building some wealth along the way, man. Definitely appreciate it.
Hopefully it helps out the community too.
We hope so as well, but you're our guest and that's who we're focusing on. So congratulations to them. They should pay you extra just because you're their owner and landlord.
I wish.
You know, when you figure out how to have your tenants pay you the iPhone premium, we need you back on the podcast so you can educate all of us. It's like, hey, if you just want a mobile phone, you can pay this amount. But if you want an Apple iPhone, which really doesn't have much more technology than the rest of it, but it does have the Apple name, you too can be part of Clarence's community. And congratulations to you.
I need to learn about branding, that's for sure.
That is totally the case, man.
But as Warren Buffett says, you got to learn how to make money while you sleep. When I sleep, I want to sleep okay at night.
Hey, man, as I say, you're winning the pillow game. And that is, you go to bed each night and you wake up about 1/30th of the month of rent richer than before you went to sleep. I'm a huge fan of going to sleep and waking up with a little more rent in the pillow. You know, at the end of the month, the pillow gets real big. You got to take some out and pay some bills. And then the pillow's still there with the rest of the rent that remains.
Yes.
Love that kind of stuff. Friends, thanks for joining us for another episode of Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose podcast. As I mentioned, I knew you'd love this episode. Clarence is such a character, such great experiences. And if you too want to learn about replacing drywall with plywood to strengthen the internal ability of your properties to withstand aggressive tenants, you should reach out to them. Clarence, how can they find you if they want to connect?
Clarence at CundiffRealEstate.com. So
it.
that's the easiest way. Or Google me. You can probably find my phone number and
Yep.
give me a call. I answer the call. I answer the phone all the time.
Yeah, she answers the phone, people. You gotta love somebody like that. So in the meantime, in the short distance between the recording date and the go live date, we'll get some of Clarence's burning the couch photos and images as well. So we'll have real-time enhancements.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks, friends. Thank you, Clarence.
Thank you, Michael. This is a lot of fun.
That's a lot of fun.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose. We hope you enjoyed learning from the amazing professional paths and achievements of our beloved guests. Before we go, please subscribe on your listening channel, Spotify, LinkedIn, YouTube, and other podcast channels to hear more from appraisers and valuers regarding their life and their work. After you drop a comment below, who is one friend and peer you can generously share this episode with? If you have any suggestions or questions for future episodes, we'd love to hear from you. Just send us a message on LinkedIn and we'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks again for listening, and until we're together again for the next session of Perusing's Appraisers on Purpose, create the change that you seek.